right? Hello, Os.
Ciao Luigi.
Oh, hello. How are you? Hello.
Great. Come stai?
Ah, bene. Tu?
Bene. Okay.
Great.
That's my Italian stops. So I'm sorry.
That's good. That's good. So I'm going to start with the usual intro in Latin because we speak Latin in the movement Neo-Latin.
Okay.
And so I'm going to start with the intro. Benvenite a todos compatriotas al segundo episodio de Lux Meets Patriots. Ahora por esta entrevista vamos a pasar al inglés. Obviously, because I don't think you all speak interlingua. Well, I mean, maybe in the future you'll learn it. Today we're here with Os Yvers, guys. Right, what's the right pronunciation?
Yeah, my real name is Oscar, but I thought that's kind of boring. So and everyone calls me Os. So that bit you got right, and then I say Yvers or Yvers. It doesn't matter actually. So whatever works for me.
All right. So from the state of the Netherlands, but I mean based in the Netherlands anyway, right? So songwriter, emergent artist, and producer. Your debut single is called "Come Together," and it's a clear reference to European unity. In fact, you can be considered a kind of son of Europe, right? I've read that in one of your publications, you wrote that you wouldn't have been born if it wasn't for the fall of the Iron Curtain. So what did you mean by that? And could you tell us a bit more about your story and background in general?
Yes, of course. Right, to start, well, the phrase because why I wouldn't have been born if it weren't for the fall of the Iron Curtain is because my mother is Polish, my father is Dutch, from Holland, and they met a few years after the wall fell. So if the wall would be still intact, I really wouldn't have been born. So that's why I always had this strong connection to for Europe. You know, that's why I'm pro-Europe. That was the moment when, yeah, my English is not that good, but I'm trying.
English is just one of the many European languages. We're not supposed to speak it perfectly.
All right, thank you. It's definitely better than my Latin or Neo-Latin. But yeah, like I said, the moment when the wall fell, to me, feels like a moment when Europe really came together. And I don't want to claim any victim position of this, but in my heart, I really feel a strong connection to Europe because I wouldn't have been born if the wall in Berlin and in Germany, of course, wouldn't have fallen. So I think that's a very great moment in history for Europe, and yeah, I think we should cherish that and not let our different opinions make us build new walls. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's totally right. From the end of World War II, what we have been trying to do was to try to break the walls, and it is very unfortunate that now some are claiming that we should start to rebuild them. Your debut single is "Come Together," and it talks about Europe, and it, at least to me, conveyed a sentiment, also a sentiment of anger and kind of disappointment for how the European project is proceeding at the moment, with people losing trust in institutions. You talk about a friend in London port, and so what is your opinion on the current state of the European Union, and what do you mean? Like, what's your interpretation of this Lennon's sentence, "Come together"? How should we come together as Europe?
Oh, that's a lot of questions. I'll try to one by one. All right. First and foremost, I don't want to get too detailed about the content of the lyrics because music is for me also an art, and I think everyone has to be free in what they interpret as what the lyrics is about. But that being said, yeah, I was kind of angry with Brexit happening, and like I said, I am pro Europe because I have to be pro Europe. If there wasn't any Europe, I wouldn't have been born. So that's why I'm feel a very strong connection to it. And yeah, in the sentence when I literally scream at the top of my lungs, "Come together." That's my maybe it's a little bit silly, but it's my cry deep from my heart why I want us to come together. That being said, I am I am very pro Europe, and I will always be. But that that being said, I think the European system as it is now is not really functioning well. But the worst thing we can do is build walls and look away from each other. I think we have to put our minds together and talk about it and think how we could make this work. You know, I understand a lot of people. A lot of people are maybe a little bit disappointed or angry about how Europe is functioning right now, and I won't say I agree with them, but I understand where it's coming from, and that's why I think we need to literally come together and talk about this, try to make this Europe thing better, instead of looking away and doing something like Brexit, because that is the opposite of what I think is right to do.
You're right. But as you say, that's the easiest thing to do. It's easy to turn your head in hard times.
Yeah. That's what I said. Yeah, I mentioned Lennon because he's one of my favorite artists. He was. May he rest in peace. But yeah, he has also a very known song with the Beatles, "Come Together," and he was always a hero for me. He was also a fighter for peace. So that's why I thought, yeah, it's a good way to honor him in my song. That's why the line, yeah, if we do like Lennon said, and come together.
Yeah, the Beatles talked a lot about social issues and peace and stuff like that. But today, it's not really like that anymore. Like your first song has a clear pro-unification, pro-unity, pro-peace message behind it. But
yes, thank you.
and I'd say that this is quite unusual these days, because music seems to be more and more detached from anything that could be associated with politics, since most singers, especially emergent ones, fear to lose followers because of political disagreements and stuff like that, right? So you seem not to have this fear, or at least this is what Come Together suggests. So what role, in your opinion, artists have in today's society, and how can they contribute to the building of a more united Europe?
Well, it's very nice of you to say it, and thank you for the compliments. I will mention a name. I don't consider myself as good, for I'm not as good and will never be, maybe. But if you look at the history, you see in America there were great artists who made political songs and who stood up for something. Artists like Bob Dylan, or after also Bruce Springsteen with "Born in the USA." I find that very fascinating that those artists really said something about what's going on, and they try to do something against it. Also the Beatles. But in Europe, we don't seem to have such a person, whereas I think that this is a time for such a person to stand up and give a voice to all young people who really are pro-Europe and believe in Europe and want to make something good about it. I think now is the time for someone to stand up and be that Bob Dylan of Europe, as you may call it. But I don't say
that's hopefully going to be you.
I don't say I can or see myself as that person, but I certainly want to contribute in that movement. Yeah, I also write other songs because you can't fill an whole album. Well, maybe you could, but I also don't want to fill a whole album with these hard
Ideological
songs. Yeah. But I have some more songs about that topic, or about Holland as well. I will definitely be singing more songs about this. But as an artist, you also need to have inspiration, you know. And if the inspiration doesn't come, then you can you can try to write a song about it. But if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. But I was very happy to write "Come Together." I was really sort of angry and what you said, disappointed, but about Brexit and what is going on. And I see in Holland populists rising, and it really hurts me because I think that's not the way to. Oh, my screen is getting darker. Oh, what's this? Can you still see me? Oh yeah. Sorry.
Right, I can see you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you see populists rising, and I think it happens everywhere in Europe as well.
Yeah.
And that me, because I believe that we should come together, and that's what I said in the song. It's in a way, the easy way, what I think is the easy way. We should try and be more compassionate about each other.
Yeah, we have seen it with the also with the quarantine and the lockdown that music is really what makes us come together and unite people, right? So what?
It's one of the universal languages, I believe.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, I myself, brother of a singer, and I had some insights from inside the musical world, and I know that many people are afraid of speaking about such things because they don't want to lose followers, which is something quite sad in my opinion. Because one should always say what they think, right? What they think about what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think as an artist, you need to pour your heart out. That's what I'm doing, and you need to. Well, you don't have to do anything, but I believe in artists who just pour their heart out and tell and say what they're believing in. And if there's no, how do you say that, feedback for that, of no people following that, then it's too bad. But I don't believe in artists who would give up their identity just for followers. I will never. One never can say never, but I will always be proud of Come Together, and I will not shy away from it. Because for me, at that moment, Brexit was happening. Actually, it already happened, but I was writing it in at the moment when it was all getting really definitive, and I really had to write it of me. As with many of my songs, I start to write when I'm upset about something, or I'm sad about something, or maybe angry or happy. Those are actually harder songs to write, but it just comes from the heart, and Come Together is really a result of that. And I'm actually pretty proud of the lyrics. I hope one day I can make it sound more professional and get it out there.
I also like the picture of the sound of the bricks being placed one on the other in the background.
That's cool. I wanted to, of course, I wanted to make a reference to the wall as well, and to what we're doing and what I'm angry about, and that's why what you hear are literally bricks building up on each other, placed on top of each other, and that's what I wanted to. How do you say that? That's what I wanted to say.
Right. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really beautiful, and of course, I invite all the people who are watching us now, and all the people that will watch this live once we will upload it on Instagram, and then also on YouTube and Facebook, hopefully, to go and search for Os Yvers on Spotify and basically any stream platform, right? You're everywhere.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to make if I can add something about the song. Sure. I also added in the bridge, I added it is not too late, and I still believe that, though maybe the song hasn't exploded as in the way I hoped at the time of Brexit. I think it's still not too late, and we still need to figure a way out to unite this Europe, and that's why the song will I believe will also be relevant maybe next year or that year after.
Yeah. I think it's a universal message at the end, because I don't think, however optimistic we may be, I don't think we will come together by tomorrow. So there
No.
will be need for the song to be played everywhere in Europe for years to come, I believe. So we've come to the last question, which is also the most deep and profound, which I think will be nice for you as an artist. This is a question that we ask everyone who joins our live stream, and it is, what is Europe for you, and what it means to be European? You can have time. It's a difficult question.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a beautiful question. To me, Europe are a lot of beautiful countries with beautiful people, beautiful histories and culture. And I think it will be hard to unite them in a way like, for example, America has been united in history, because one of the biggest issues is that we don't share the same language. And I see that in Holland, I see that on the streets. I see, for example, Polish people who don't speak Dutch, they can't communicate with Dutch people, and that creates misunderstanding and also friction.
Sure.
So I think, yeah, language is a big issue. But that being said, a lot of people are speaking English. I think that will be the easiest way now for European countries to unite, to speak English, as is already happening. But yeah, what Europe is to me, I think it's also a promise. Like we always, when I was young, and maybe sometimes still do, when I look at America, I think of it as the promised land, where everything can happen. But now you see that the dream is falling apart also, and it has happened in the past. But why can't we make Europe our promised land? You know, we have so many beautiful things. Yeah, well, sure, we made wars in history, but we also made peace, and there were a lot of beautiful kingdoms. We have beautiful culture, things that we should cherish. I think we need to look away from our nationalist belief and really believe more in what Europe can offer us.
Yeah, our motto as Lux Europa is "One Europe, One Nation."
Yeah. No, well, I believe in that. I understand. I also understand people who are afraid, because now the European Union is like a bad teacher who is only giving punishments and taking away money from some countries and giving it to others, and back again. And people don't really understand what's happening. I think there's also a lot of communication failure going on. But yeah, I think Europe is also a promise. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, I wouldn't have been born if it weren't for the fall of the Iron Curtain. So, well, you can say yourself if that's a beautiful thing, but for me, that's important. So, yeah, I think it is a promise. We need to cherish and we need to develop, and not look away from it, but strengthen it and make it better.
Yeah. And if we manage to replace the bureaucratic and failing communication of the EU with good music and art and, you know, just human manifestations, then we will succeed for sure, I think.
So I hope so. If I only can be a little small part of it, then I would be really, really proud. I also have a question for you, if I may ask.
Yeah, sure, you can.
I saw on your Instagram, you're pretty young still, right? You're 16 or 17?
I'm 16 years old.
Yeah. What did you? What got you so involved and engaged about Europe at such a young age? I think it's very fascinating, and my compliments for that. But
all right,
how did that happen?
All right. First of all, thank you. And well, then speaking personally, I don't have that cool background that you have. Actually, my ancestry is quite monotonous. I'm Sicilian, so I come from Italy, and my parents and grandparents came from here. So it's, yeah, it's quite monotonous. But you know, uh, even though I'm pure Sicilian, I live here, isolated, more maybe Africa than Europe even. Um,
Yeah.
I've always, when I studied history and literature, poetry, I understood that, it was silly to consider Italy as an isolated reality. So I
Yeah.
understood that it was part of a greater thing. And to be part myself of that greater being made me proud. And I think that I had to share this sentiment of pride, as far as I could, as far as I could, and I thought of creating this movement, and and I found out that many young people all around Europe believe the same as me, and this is awesome. This is a dream, but as you said, I mean, they had the American dream. We're going to have the European dream.
Well, that's a good motto. I want to say that's very admirable that you're doing this, and especially at such a young age. A lot of people are, yeah, wondering about what shoes to wear or whatever, and you really stand up for something you believe in. So I think that's very admirable. And you were also one of my first fans from Italy. So I'm really
Yeah.
uh, that you called me
No.
up and asked me to participate in this.
Yes, for me it has been a pleasure, and it's. I think you're a very amazing person, and one of the young people that will help history to develop in a better way.
That would be cool, right? That's
Yeah.
my, but I'm also a little bit of a dreamer. So if that would happen, that would be great. But I don't know if I'm the person to do that, but we'll see. I will certainly stand up for as much as I can, and scream "Come together" as loud as I can.
Right.
Just
Right. So we'll look forward as Lux Europe. We'll follow you and listen to your songs and play them. And we will look forward for the next appointment together.
yeah, that's
Um,
great.
Valete compatriotas, revider. Bye bye, Os.
See you and take care in this whole crisis.
See you.
See you. Bye bye.